What is Common Variable Immune Deficiency? Common Variable Immune Deficiency, CVID, is a form of a primary immune deficiency, which means that it is something that you were born with. It is considered a rare illness. So the estimates of the worldwide prevalence for common variable immune deficiency is that it occurs in somewhere between 1 in 25,000 to 1 in 50,000. And I have it. Basically, with CVID, it means you have a weaker immune system than the average person. To get diagnosed with CVID, you have to show a low immune globulin level, which your immune globulins are your antibodies, on a blood test. And then also, how they confirm the diagnosis is they do a vaccine challenge. They draw your blood levels for a certain vaccine, they draw the titer levels, they give you the vaccine, and then a month later they take blood work again and they see if your titer levels went up or not. So if you don't respond to the vaccine at all, or if you only respond to part of the vaccine, it confirms that your immune system doesn't know how to respond. What this means is that a person that has CVID is more susceptible to repeated infections, lung infections, sinus infections. They get sick a lot, which eventually, if it gets bad enough, leaves someone at risk of dying. So it is considered a life-threatening illness. Now, the good side is there is a treatment for this. To treat common variable immune deficiency, you ultimately have to replace the antibodies, which your body's not able to produce itself. To get this treatment, it is immune globulin. So you can do immune globulin either intravenously or subcutaneously. So intravenous, IV, they put an IV in your arm, they flow the medicine, great. Subcutaneous is in your fat. You can do it yourself, so that is a benefit. You can inject in your stomach or your thighs. They're both the same thing, and really the route of admission has a lot to do with your preference and sometimes your insurance, unfortunately. The immune globulin comes from when people donate plasma, so they pool all these antibodies from several different people to make one lot, so that when you inject it, you have a good range of antibodies. You inject these antibodies, and hopefully now you have protection to the more common illnesses out there, and you don't get sick as much. I've been getting immune globulin for over 10 years, and it is definitely a life changer. Growing up, I was always sick. I was always on antibiotics. I constantly had infections. I was going to the doctor all the time. I was run down. I was tired, and it was not fun. Being on immune globulin, I am so much healthier. So it is very vital that people that do have CVID get this medication, because essentially if you don't have the medication, you are at risk of getting so sick and then eventually getting something that your body just cannot fight and unfortunately dying. On the medication, you can pretty much live just like anybody else, which is really amazing. The cause of CVID is mostly unknown. From what I have read online is that they have found a common gene in approximately 10% of the cases, and in the rest of them, they don't know. It is believed that it's likely, like a lot of things, a mixture of genetics and environment. There are some people that it runs in their families, but nobody in my family has been diagnosed. Now, there are many people that go undiagnosed for several years because doctors don't always think to test for it, and unfortunately, some people do get sicker and sicker and sicker. Some people just don't get diagnosed until they're much older in life. For me, what CVID has caused is really the fatigue is the biggest thing. I am always exhausted. I'm like always tired. People always love to tell me how tired I look, and they really don't understand, because when people look at me, I look healthy, I look fine. CVID is an invisible illness. So unless I were to tell you I have it, you're not gonna know. And I obviously, everyone I meet, I don't tell them, well, yeah, I have an immune deficiency. So people love to tell me how tired I look all the time, and they're like, oh, did you not sleep last night? And it's like, no, I slept probably more than you did, but I am just always exhausted. The fatigue, it's just like soul-sucking. Like, people will say, yeah, I get tired too, but it's a different type of tired. It's just like you are always drained. Like, it's hard to explain. It's like inside of you. Sometimes I just feel like my eyes are gonna fall out. Like I can't think, and I get this brain fog, and it really stinks. I've done a lot to try to get around it, and I mean, I work full time. For a while, I was working 2 jobs, which was really horrible, but I survived, barely. So I get around it, but it doesn't mean that it's easy to get around. I am very fortunate with my immune globulin. I have stayed very healthy. Up until the last year, I was like rarely even getting sick. Now within the last year, I've gotten sick a lot more often, but one of the really annoying things about having CVID is your immune system affects your entire body. So it's almost like you feel like you're susceptible to like everything. I mean, your GI tract is affected by your immune system, your skin, your lungs. It's like basically your whole body, and it stinks. And what's really frustrating is when you have to see a specialist for whatever is being aggravated at the moment. Most of these specialists have never heard of CVID, or they act like they know what it is, but you know that they don't know what it is. And it is easy to tell, by the way, when a doctor knows what it is and when they're faking it, they know what it is. And I've seen both. Doing my medication, I have to do it every week, and it takes me about 2 hours each time for an infusion. I do this subcutaneous medicine, and so I stick it in my stomach, I stick it in my thighs. I hate doing my medicine, but I have to because I need it to live, and I know how much better my life is with it. But the actual act of injecting myself and doing the infusion, I just really dread doing it. It's annoying. The good news is that with treatment, someone with CVID can pretty much live a normal life and have the same life expectancy as anyone else. I mean, I work full time, I travel, I live my life, and I refuse to let this illness just keep me indoors and to stop living. My hopes with this channel are to make videos on a lot of the experiences that I have had living with CVID. I was diagnosed 12 years ago, so I've gone through a lot with this, and I'm very fortunate to say that I no longer feel like CVID is like a huge focus in my life. Obviously, it is always going to be a huge chunk of my life, and it is going to be something that I have to factor into like pretty much anything that I do. But it used to be something that was like a daily think about for me, and it really no longer is, which I think is amazing, because that means that I am living my life and not letting my life be lived by this illness. It being a rare illness, a lot of times you really feel like you have no one to talk to. You feel like people don't understand what you're going through, and a lot of times so much is just unknown. I want to try to give some of my experiences going through this for other people to see. Stay tuned. Bye.